interweb folks, I'm Alexa, the resident ooky spooky girly, and welcome to another installment of urban legends from spooky places I want to visit. Specifically, New Orleans is definitely on my list of places I'd like to travel to someday when I stop being such a workaholic, simply for the incredible history and culture. Question for y'all, what places are on your must-travel list? Let me know in the comments, and here are the top 5 terrifying urban legends from Louisiana that terrified residents. Number 5. Lalaurie Mansion. This mansion is known as one of the most haunted places in the historic French Quarter in New Orleans. The tale originates in 1832 when Dr. Louis Lalaurie and his wife Delphine moved into the home. Known as a popular socialite in town, as well as a grand party thrower, Delphine hid some very dark secrets in this elaborate home during a time when slavery was prevalent in the South. The 3-story mansion at 1140 Royal Street housed horrors and atrocities that only began to surface after police raided the home because a neighbor saw Delphine chase a young girl around her garden with a whip. She then chased the girl onto her roof, where the girl, jumped to her death. Thankfully, laws were in place in New Orleans during that time to punish her. However, somehow, through relatives, Delphine's slaves were returned to her. Delphine used to chain up her cook to the stove all day, only to unchain her for bed, and then would chain her back all day when she woke in the morning. It is said that a fire broke out in the home in 1834, supposedly by this cook who could no longer stand her fate, and when firefighters entered the damaged home, the rumors only became more true. Delphine had disappeared, never to be found again after an angry mob gathered. Gruesome tales have surfaced since this tragic event. For almost 200 years, there have been reports of paranormal activity coming from this house. It shouldn't surprise many that hauntings are attributed to the slaves that Madame Lalaurie kept on the property. There's a room in the mansion where slaves were often kept, and reports of moaning coming from that room are very common. Phantom footsteps echo throughout the house with regularity, and many people who have stood near the house have reported feeling as if they were taken over by negative energy. In 1894, a tenant who lived at the mansion when it was being used as an apartment complex was brutally killed in his room. Folks found his belongings ransacked as if someone had gone through them, leading the police to originally assume that he was a victim of a robbery, even though nothing of value was found missing. An interesting account regarding this deals with the police interviewing neighbors about his disappearance, when one of his friends claimed that he was having problems with sprites in his house. This friend wrote it off as his imagination running wild, but claimed that the victim had told him that there was a demon in the house and wasn't going to rest until he had met his end. Okay, mark this down as a spooky place you don't want to spend a night in. Number 4. The Tomb of Marie Laveau. Known as the Voodoo Queen, Marie Laveau was born on September 10th of 1794. She was born a free woman of color in the French Quarter of New Orleans and was a dedicated practitioner of voodoo, a practice that she passed down to her daughter named Marie Laveau II. Following the reported death of her husband, Jacques Paris, she enters a domestic partnership with Christophe Dominique Duminy de Glapion, a nobleman of French descent, with whom she lived until his death in 1855, and together they had 7 children according to birth and baptismal records. Laveau was a known healer, herbalist, entrepreneur, along with being a prominent female religious leader and community activist. In her role as a voodoo practitioner, customers often appealed to the priestess for help with family disputes, health, finances, and more. Laveau performed her services in 3 main places: her home on St. Anne Street, within Go Square, and at Lake Pontchartrain. She was the 3rd female leader of voodoo in New Orleans, and passed away on June 15th of 1881 at the age of 79. Though even days after her death, many say they could still see her roaming the streets, and her grave today still resides in New Orleans at the St. Louis Cemetery. Locals say that if you place a rose on her grave at midnight on her birthday, that you can levitate above the historic gravesite. Number 3. Rougarou. The Rougarou legend has been spread for many generations, either directly from French settlers to Louisiana or via the French-Canadian immigrants centuries ago. Rougarou represents a variant pronunciation and spelling of the original French Lougarou, which is the version I heard about when I was younger at summer camp. According to Barry Jean Ancelet, an academic expert on Cajun folklore and professor at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette in America, the tale of Rougarou is a common legend across French Louisiana. Both words are used interchangeably in southern Louisiana. Some folks call the monster Rougarou, while others refer to it as the Loup-garou. So just so I personally don't get confused today, I'll stick with Rougarou when referring to this legend. In the Cajun legends, the creature is said to prowl the swamps around Acadiana and Greater New Orleans, specifically the sugarcane fields and woodlands of the region. The Rougarou is most often described as a creature with a human body and the head of a wolf or a dog, similar to most werewolf legends. Often the storytelling has been used to inspire fear and obedience. One such example is stories that have been told by elders to persuade Cajun younglings to behave. According to another variation, the beast will hunt down and kill Catholics who do not follow the rules of Lent. This coincides with French Catholic Loup-garou stories, according to which the method for turning into a werewolf is to break Lent 7 years in a row. For what it's worth, I've been ignoring Lent for much longer, and I'm not a werewolf. I'm closer to being part vampire, but not part wolf. Long story. A part of the legend says that the Rougarou is under the spell for 101 days, and after that time, the curse is transferred from person to person when the Rougarou draws another human's life source. During that day, the creature returns to human form, and although acting sickly, the human refrains from telling others of the situation for fear of being killed. Other stories range from the Rougarou as a rabbit to the Rougarou being derived from witchcraft. In the latter claim, only a witch can make a Rougarou, either by turning into a wolf herself or by cursing others with lycanthropy. Make of that what you will. Number 2. The Grunch. The Grunch is described to be an elaborate cross between the canid and reptilian chupacabras. New Orleans residents have so named the creature the Grunch after the old dirt road that leads to a dead end in the woods that it likes to frequent. But sightings and tales, unlike its cousins, seem to go back farther in Louisiana history than in other areas of the world, dating back to the Crescent City's early roots. This southern cryptid has been called the Vampire of Farborough-Marigny and Bywater area, dating back to the early 1800s. Vampire, eh? The Grunch is said to hide in the tall grass and exist off of the red fluids of goats and humans. It preys on those who park their cars on its namesake road at night. The most common description of the New Orleans Grunch is a goat-like being appearing to have leathery or scaly black-gray skin and sharp spines with long horns or quills running down its back. The creature stands approximately 3 to 4 feet high and are also said to seem more intelligent and have human-like skills, able to open doors, use tools similar to how a monkey or primate would. It is said to howl like a wolf, scream like a banshee, or bellow and screech like an ape when alarmed, as well as leave a strong stench. Many reports note that the eyes glow an unusual red-orange or blue-green color, depending on who you ask. Some witnesses have reported seeing bat-like wings and a tail or long fur and goat-like markings in gray on a silky black coat. The Grunch has sharp teeth, long claws, and it is said that he would rip his victims open. Stories vary, but one suggests that voodoo priestess Marie Laveau castrated a devil baby and from what fell spreaded 2 creatures. The Grunch are said to have almost killed her with their fierce bites and punching, and the voodoo queen fainted from the attack. But when she awoke, the duo were gone. All versions agree that it's a group of deformed half-human, half-monsters that evolved in the bayou over years of isolation. It's said that if you happen to be on the road and see an injured goat, you should not get out of your car, as the Grunch uses the creatures to lure unsuspecting victims out to drain them of their scarlet elixir. Recently, a Harvey, Louisiana lady said she saw one eating one of her neighbor's dogs. Sanitation workers tell of seeing them raid the garbage cans or chase the garbage trucks along the New Orleans East Hines Boulevard and Grunch Road area. The Grunch is said to haunt many areas in New Orleans and surrounding parishes, such as Lakeview, Metairie, Chalmette, Harvey, Terrytown, Slidell, Covington, and Paradis. They are said to live in the darkest parts of the New Orleans City Park Golf Course and have been seen running in the tall grass and along the levees of Chalmette National Battlefield. In the Paradis, Luling, and Bouette, LA area, many stay late at night. You can see them running across Highway 90 looking for something or someone to eat. Lakeview residents nowadays tell of how they no longer leave their pets in the yard after Hurricane Katrina, as so many Grunch were displaced into the neighborhood. Specifically in Harvey, Louisiana, many people tell of seeing them knock over trash cans and chasing cats to consume from them. People at first thought they were rabbit or mangy hairless raccoons, but trust me, that's more of a Toronto problem. Number 1. The Honey Island Swamp Monster. So the Honey Island Swamp Monster, also known as the Louisiana Wookiee, is a humanoid cryptid that is reported to have been seen in and around, Honey Island Swamp, Louisiana since 1963. It was first reported when 2 hunters spotted this creature, prowling the swamps, and its tracks indicated that it had 3-toed webbed feet. They said it was standing over 7.5 feet tall and weighed somewhere between 400 to 500 pounds or more. It's also believed to be covered in a thick coat of matted gray or brown hair and swamp weed. Apparently its yellow eyes are seemingly reptilian, and the smell it emits has been called the stench of death. Now, it is possible that a Bigfoot evolved webbed feet to better suit its swamp environment, which is a theory that I personally believe, but some folks are adamant that it's some sort of government experiment gone weird. Which, it's likely. Who knows what the government's hiding these days? The original 1963 spotting took place when Harlan Ford and his friend Billy Mills were searching for an abandoned cabin, spotted by Ford in a plane, deep in the Honey Island Swamp, giving this cryptid its name. The friends reached a clearing where they spotted the creature, who kept eye contact with them for only a moment before escaping into the underbrush. Describing the creature, Ford said that it was nothing like he'd ever seen before, ugly and sinister and looking like something out of a horror movie. In 1974, Ford and Mills returned to the area on a duck hunting trip. The two found several dead boars with their throats torn out along the way, and knowing that the boars were too far from the water to have been killed by alligators, they began to suspect the monster they had encountered, 9 years earlier as the culprit. This suspicion was confirmed when they noticed footprints, 3-toed and webbed, around one of the boars. Rather than have a second run-in with the swamp monster, the two decided to get the heck out of there, but returned later that night to make a cast of the footprints. All the power to them for doing that, but I know I would have been too scared. Another man named Ted Williams claimed to have seen the creature many times, positive that there were multiple swamp monsters. And That's not scary enough. One day, Ted took his boat out in the swamp to set, trout lines and was never seen again. This primitive creature has long been blamed for the death of livestock and the mysterious disappearances of younglings in adjacent areas. Popular lore in the region is that the Honey Island swamp monster might be the horrifying product of a union between a chimpanzee and an alligator. And in the darkly primordial swamplands that must look, pretty much the same now as they did thousands of years ago, the existence of almost any creature seems possible. One of the strangest legends, though, surrounding this monster revolves around a train wreck, which allegedly occurred near the Pearl River in the early part of the 20th century. According to this legend, the train was full of exotic animals from a traveling circus, which fled into the swamps after the train derailed. While most of the creatures would soon perish in the swampland, the legend goes on to claim that a troop of chimpanzees managed to survive, and even went as far as to interbreed with alligators. The result was a strange colony of reptilian-like mammals. Look, personally, I believe the Bigfoot theory the most, but let me know what you think. And that brings me to the end of my list, and I think I'm ready to plan a trip. If you enjoyed today's video, could you please help us out by giving it a like, subscribing if you aren't already, and why not just hit the bell for more terrifying content from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.